Hey everybody, it's Jay. Welcome to the channel. If you've looked at my channel, you know that I live near New York City. You also probably realize I like architectural photography. That's a great combination. New York is a great place to do architectural photography, but there are tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of buildings in New York City. So I thought it might be helpful to do a video where I show you 30 locations that if you're into architectural photography, you might want to visit. They're in no particular order. Some of these everybody knows. They're world famous locations. Some of them, my guess is you haven't thought of before or seen before. And so I'm going to go through, I'll give you the location for each of them, take some notes, but if you're either live here or visiting, again, I'm going to give you some good ideas, I think, if you want to do some architectural photography. If you do like the video, it does help the channel just to give me a thumbs up, a like, and if you like this kind of content, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos. Let's get started. Okay, so the first building I'm going to highlight is the Gilder Center. This is a really new addition to the American Museum of Natural History. It's on the Upper West Side, so I think it's between 77th and 81st Street. This part of the museum really is close to Columbus Avenue. I definitely would shoot this in the afternoon if you can, when the light hits this building. It's fantastic on the outside. It's also fantastic on the inside. This is a building I discovered by accident just walking around New York City. This is the Virgin Hotel NYC. It's on the corner of Broadway and 30th Street. It just opened. And you get nice shots from different angles. This one I took in the afternoon. I think that's probably the better time to shoot it, but really cool building. Haven't been inside, but the outside has great geometric features. My son actually told me about these two buildings in Brooklyn. They're in Williamsburg. This is 420 Kent, located at 420 Kent Avenue. It's right on the water in Williamsburg. And you get these two opposing buildings, again, have strong geometric features. They catch the light in a very interesting way. And by the way, great views from Manhattan when you go there. The redevelopment of the World Trade Center site includes this amazing transportation hub. It's called the Oculus, designed by Santiago Calatrava. It is an incredible building, very fun to photograph from all different angles. Wide angle shots, tight shots, and you have to go inside. The inside is as spectacular as the outside. A great place to photograph. When I'm walking around New York, I always spend some time just looking up, and that's how I discovered this building. This is the Corinthian. It's an apartment building on 38th Street and 1st Avenue. It's been around probably 30 years or so, but it has these amazing features of these curved windows, which in the morning catch the light very nicely. This is a long exposure I took a couple years ago. This is the Prism at Park Avenue South. It's a new apartment building, and it's fantastic. It's got great lines, angles. I discovered it on Google Maps, believe it or not. But it's on the corner of 28th Street and Park Avenue in Manhattan. Little tough to photograph. On Park Avenue, it's a busy street, but there's a small island you can actually hang out in the middle of the street and get some shots with your wide-angle lens. Really cool new addition to that neighborhood. The Little Island is a great new public space in Manhattan. It's right on the Hudson River. It's at 14th Street. And it was made by creating these concrete pylons, these tulip-shaped pylons that form this 2-acre island. You go on there, there's trails to walk, there's things to do on there, concerts, you can get a coffee, a snack, and great views of Manhattan as well. It's a super spot, and the neighborhood around there is also really fun to hang out in. So definitely recommend going there. Probably earlier, better than later, because it does get pretty crowded, especially on the weekends, but a really nice addition to New York City. So this is not a well-known, but it's a super interesting building in New York. It's the Roy and Diana Vagelis Center. It's part of Columbia Medical School, and it's way up on 171st Street and Haven Avenue. Kind of tough to photograph, but if you can get up there, especially in the afternoon when the sun is coming from the south and hitting this facade, it is super interesting from an architectural standpoint. and these white parts of the building really do pop against darker glass. Well, I worked downtown for 19 years, and during part of that time, my office overlooked the site of this building, so I saw the construction from the ground up. This is the Goldman Sachs headquarters. It's located at Vesey Street and West Street. Really great building with some very strong geometric features. It doesn't really matter what time of day you shoot this because you get shots from different angles. This shot was really taken from the northwest, but a really nice building and a kind of a cool neighborhood too. Well, switching gears a little bit, this is definitely not a new building. This building was built in 1962. It is, of course, the TWA terminal at JFK Airport, designed by Eero Saarinen. This is a shot I got by going to a parking garage right across the street and shooting down on it, which was cool. But if you go there, you should park, you should walk around the building too, because you get some really cool architectural details of the building itself, in tight, wide-angle lens, and absolutely do go inside. The lobby here is really spectacular. Great example of mid-century architecture. Really, if you're at JFK Airport, if you've got the time, you should definitely stop by this building. Well, another mid-century New York City classic, the Guggenheim Museum, designed by Frank Lloyd Wright, opened in 1959. Fantastic location to shoot. I would definitely go in the afternoon because the facade of the building faces west. You get some great sunlight on the building at that hour. Definitely go inside, bring your wide-angle lens. It is as interesting on the inside as it is on the outside. So this is a kind of a must-see spot for photographers visiting New York City. So if you like triangles, this is the building for you. This is Via 57, located at 57th Street and the West Side Highway in Manhattan. It's an apartment building. It was built in 2017. Fantastic dramatic features of this building, and it catches the light in a very interesting way. Shoot this in the afternoon because this faces west. Last point, if you're across the Hudson River, you also get a long lens and you can get this building in a very nice light as well. You know, there are certain intersections in Manhattan that I tend to gravitate towards. This is the intersection of Beaver Street and Pearl Street. Downtown Manhattan, there's some really old parts of it. The streets tend to be pretty narrow. They go in all different directions. It's not a typical grid. And this one has some really cool buildings. And so I've shot this several times, typically with a wide-angle lens pointed up. Love a long exposure with moving clouds. And I've gotten some really good shots from this location. So Beaver Street and Pearl Street, if you're downtown, this is the kind of shot you would get. I would definitely recommend making a stop there. Another really cool intersection downtown is the intersection of Governor Street and Front Street. You know, when you're downtown, the streets are really narrow. You get tall buildings. You get this really cool convergence up towards the sky. This intersection happens to have some interesting geometric features to it, so I got this shot when I was down there on a Sunday morning. One of my favorite intersections in Manhattan is 53rd Street and Lexington Avenue. There's a number of really big skyscrapers, one of which is the Citigroup building. And I've been there a number of times. Actually went in the middle of COVID when there was no traffic. And I was able to sit almost in the middle of the intersection and kind of look up and get these really cool shots. So for about 11 years, I worked right across the street from the Grace Building, which is on the corner of 6th Avenue and 42nd Street in Manhattan. And it's got a very distinctive feature. It kind of curves in as it goes up, and that makes for some interesting photographs. It's also very minimalistic and simplistic, but you can shoot it from the north side or from the south side where I took this shot. In addition, if you go across the street to Bryant Park, you can get this shot, which again kind of highlights the minimalist nature of the building. It's a cool shot. And of course, right across the street from the Grace Building is the Bank of America Tower, where I worked for 11 years. It's also known as One Bryant Park, so it's right across the street from Bryant Park. Just a fantastic building, modern structure with some interesting angles. And as you look at it in different light, the different panels or panes of the building will appear differently and shine. This is a shot from Bryant Park, so always love shooting that building. Of course, if you're on 42nd Street, you might as well walk east and go to the Chrysler Building. This is a classic Art Deco New York City skyscraper that has been photographed to death, but it's because it's beautiful. And so I shoot it all the time. Here's a long exposure shot I took. We got the cloud movement, but I've shot it from different angles. And honestly, I like most of the shots I get. It's just a great building. So one of the newest neighborhoods of Manhattan is Hudson Yards. It is a massive development with a number of towers, a big shopping area, some public space. It is really impressive, and the buildings there are really cool to shoot. Probably the single most identifiable building or structure there is the Vessel, which historically you would have walked up to the top of it with some ramps. I think it's been closed for a little bit, but you can still shoot from below with a wide-angle lens and get this kind of shot. But the other towers are just really cool to shoot. So there's been several mornings where I've gotten there early, walked around. I will tell you that if you use a tripod, sooner or later security will chase you away. I've been fortunate in that I was able to get shots before they chased me away, but of course they did chase me away eventually. But Hudson Yards, great area, nice place to hang out too, by the way. It's restaurants, shops, really cool, nice part of Manhattan. One of the best buildings to photograph in New York is the Flatiron Building. This is a classic structure on 5th Avenue and 23rd Street. I think the best angle to shoot from is from the north, so facing south. I would expect crowds. I'd probably want to get there early or late, but it is a great place to shoot. So this is the Bank of China building, also known as 5 Bryant Park. It's on the corner of 6th Avenue and 40th Street, so it's right near Bryant Park. Fantastic building, great geometric features, shapes. The light hits it in a very interesting way. I would definitely shoot this in the morning, and I would bring a wide-angle lens to capture all of the building if you can. You know, sometimes buildings can serve a very mundane purpose and still be beautiful. So this is actually a salt shed. It is used to hold salt roads in New York when it snows or ice is over. And it's on the corner of Spring Street and the West Side Highway. Go there when it's dark if you can, because they light it up really effectively. This is the only building I'm featuring where I'm showing you the inside, because it is super interesting. This is the Fulton Street subway station on the corner of Fulton Street and Broadway. Make sure you bring your wide-angle lens to capture as much of it as you can. And I would also try to get there, pretty early in the morning because it can get really crowded. One of the newer residential areas of Manhattan is Waterline Square. It's an area that's actually 3 towers there, all residential. And they're all unique in their own way. It's on 61st Street and 11th Avenue. But I got there early on a Sunday morning, and it is best to go in the morning, I think. And I shot all these buildings at different angles, and I came away with some pretty good shots. Also a nice area to hang out on a sunny day. One of my favorite architects is Frank Gehry, a world-renowned, world-famous architect with buildings all over the world. But there are 3 in New York City that I've photographed. So this is the IAC Center, headquarters for IAC, on 18th Street and 11th Avenue. If you go to Midtown, you can catch the Hearst Tower. This is on 57th and 8th. A little bit more difficult to photograph just because it's so dense around there, but you can find some different angles and create some interesting images. The other building I love, one of his buildings, is 8 Spruce Street, which is an apartment building on 8 Spruce Street all the way downtown. But the way it captures the light from different angles is just really amazing. It is always cool to have some item of interest in the foreground for architectural shots. And you could do that with this building. This is Tower 57. It's on the corner of 57th and Lex. I think it's under construction now, but hopefully that scaffolding will be gone soon. A great place to visit if you're Midtown. On the corner of 1st Avenue and 36th Street in Manhattan stands the American Copper Buildings. These 2 really cool towers connected by a footbridge about, I don't know if it's the 30th or 40th floor, but really a nice shot here. I would definitely go in the morning because these buildings face east. By the way, if you're over in Queens, you have a longer lens, you can get a really cool shot of these buildings from across the river. I've seen some great pictures of these buildings from there. Arguably one of the most famous churches in New York City is St. Patrick's Cathedral. It's on the corner of 50th Street and 5th Avenue. Great area too. It's right across the street from Rockefeller Center. So I went there early on a Sunday morning once and got some shots with some tail lights going down 5th Avenue. But I've been there all times a day, and you get some really cool shots of that architecture. So kind of a must stop if you are in Midtown Manhattan, I think. Well, that does it. I hope you got something out of this video. If you like the video at all, just give me a like. It does help the channel. And again, if you like this kind of content, architectural photography, landscape, Photoshop tutorials, I'm doing photo critiques now, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos. And until next time.